Yo, what is up, everybody? My hand's moving around speed. You can't even see what I'm doing. Welcome back to another video where this next 6 videos to come, 7 including this one, I will be predicting the 2020-2021 NBA season. This is kind of inspired, but well, it was inspired by the predictions for the NBA season. I don't remember who sent them out, but they were all over the place. CJ McCollum wasn't happy, rightfully so. But yeah, here are my NBA standings projections. So I'm gonna milk this as much as possible. Because what kind of YouTuber would I be if I didn't? And so I'm going to go ahead and start with the Atlantic Division, the Eastern Conference Atlantic Division, home of the best team in basketball history, Boston Celtics. Lakers are close though, like extremely close. But we were there first. We got 17 first. So suck it. So starting off in the Atlantic Division, I'm going to go from 5th all the way to 1st. But starting off with the Atlantic Division, just this division has to be the toughest division in basketball. I mean, like, outside of one team, everybody's insane. Everyone's going to get 40-plus wins this year. I think there's no real other division that can compete with the intensity, the toughness that the Atlantic Division now has. With KD and Kyrie coming now, I think the only one that can compete would be the Northwest, as they have a very similar structure where like one team's not as good. Sorry, Timberwolves. But I think the top 4 in the Atlantic are better than the top 4 in the Northwest. But Minnesota's better than New York. So I don't know. However you want to take it, I think the Atlantic's the toughest division. But starting off with the team that just is not tough at all, the New York Knicks. I mean, you know you're going to suck when your starting point guard's Elfrid Payton. That's a sign that you ain't going to do too well. But outside of Elfrid Payton, this team has a nice future. I mean, you got RJ Barrett, who has a lot of potential, needs to work on the three-point shooting, needs to. But the potential is there. You just drafted Obi Toppin. I don't know how Tom Thibodeau is going to play that, but I'll get to that in a second. Julius Randle, solid. Mitchell Robinson has a lot of defensive potential. We've seen the offseason videos of him working on his handles, but I think his real key here is the defense, as they will need offense. But when you already have a big man in Randle who can score on offense, Robinson's offense isn't as much of a necessity as his defense is. And with the bench, it's not good. You got Frank Ntilikina, Alec Burks, Reggie Bullock, Kevin Knox, and Nerlens Noel. Nerlens Noel is going to be your 6th man. Yes, he's gotten better since his Philly days, but that's not someone I would really like as my 6th man. But I digress. With going back to Tom Thibodeau. Tom Thibodeau has a history of not utilizing rookies to their maximum potential. I think that's the best way I can phrase that, at least the best way I can think of phrasing it. Throughout his career, Thibodeau hasn't played the rookies. That's the blunt way of saying it. So with Obi Toppin's a really special case, especially for the fit on the Knicks. Yes, he can play small forward, but I don't think he really wants to play small forward. Like, his fit, the size works out. The offense checks out. The defense, I don't think, does. I don't think Toppin has the defense that will be great and that will be good enough in the NBA to play the small forward position. Now, I hope he proves me wrong. I love Obi Toppin. But to fit in at the small forward position, he's just a bit too slow. which he can definitely improve on. But yeah, I don't think, especially with Tom Thibodeau, they start Toppin at the 3. I think Reggie Bullock will get the start, and Toppin will be your 6 man. But that's how I would play it. Also, if I was a GM, Julius Randle would no longer be on my team. So yeah, that would be my GM, and this part will be my weakest part of the video, the actual record predictions. But I feel pretty confident with the Knicks as I have them going 0-72. I think that's achievable. They might end up with -1 wins, but 0-72 seems about right. So okay, I'm kidding. I think they'll go 20-52. Still atrocious. You're still losing 52 times in a season. But this team's just not going to win. I mean, I don't see them winning more than 20 games, or at least more than 30 games, because maybe they get 22. But anyway, now these top 4. I think there's a 3-way race for first, and a 4-way race for fourth. We all know the teams: the Raptors, Celtics, Nets, and 76ers. Coming in at fourth, I have the 76ers. I think they aren't in contention really for the first seed. I don't think they're as good as the Nets, Celtics, or Raptors, but then again, the Celtics, Raptors, and Nets either one of those 3 can fall down to the 4th seed. I just don't think the 76ers does enough to jump up to be in contention for the 1 seed. They're obviously a great team, and I think this team is probably one of their better teams that they've had. I mean, if you go and look at the roster, Ben Simmons, Danny Green, Matisse Thybulle, Tobias Harris, and Joel Embiid. That's honestly a very good defensive lineup. A very, very well-structured lineup. Because you have the defense in Simmons, Thybulle, and Embiid. You have the offense in Simmons, Green, Harris, and Embiid. You have the playmaking in Simmons, the shooting in Green, the defense, the 3-and-D in Thybulle, the Tobias Harris, and the big man in Joel Embiid. Now, their bench is also pretty good. You have Tyrese Maxey, Seth Curry, Terrence Ferguson, Mike Scott, Dwight Howard, and Tony Bradley. What the main takeaway I get from this bench is that no matter what, they're going to have a traditional big man in. Because while Embiid can stretch the floor a bit, from what I've seen, he prefers to play in the post. At least that's where Brett Brown had him. But we also all know how smart Brett Brown was. Maybe Doc Rivers will use him a bit differently. Maybe he uses him to stretch the floor. Maybe he keeps him in the post. I'm not sure. I think Embiid will play a very solid. Don't know what I'm trying to say. Embiid will play a lot in the post with his offense. But then you substitute Dwight Howard and Tony Bradley, and neither of them can really stretch the floor as much as you would want them to, as much as you would want maybe like a bench big man to do. But so that's the one takeaway I get from this. That's one takeaway I get, is that Philly will always have a traditional big man in. Now, their small forward I think is their weakest spot. Their small forward and power forward, because Thybulle is not your traditional starting small forward. He's typically a shooting guard, but with the additions of Green and Curry, he steps into that small forward spot. Well, really, with the reduction of Al Horford, he steps into that small forward spot. Now, another reason I say there's that small forward is their weak spot. Their backup is Terrence Ferguson, and then with power forward they have Tobias Harris, solid starter, like solid player. Backup is Mike Scott. So that's why their forwards are their weakest positions. Is their starters aren't great, which is fine. Like, I'm just nitpicking their starters. Their starting lineup I think is great on paper, but their backups at the forward position very weak. However, their backup guards are great. You have Tyrese Maxey and Seth Curry. These are great additions, stretching the floor, because you can play either one of them at the shooting guard, so have like a 3-man rotation as shooting guard, or those two can go and play the 1. Curry can play the 3. I think this is one of the better 76ers teams we have seen on paper in a while, and that's saying something because they've had impressive paper teams, but they haven't had impressive basketball teams, and that's what we need. And with the addition of Doc Rivers, great coach. He gets a bad rep for what happened in LA this last year, but I think he will be a very good coach for this Philadelphia 76ers. As for the record prediction, I have him going 42-30 or somewhere around there. At number 3, honestly, it's basically 1A, B, and C, because the Nets have the best players. I think the Celtics have the best depth, or maybe that's just because. And the Raptors, I think, are just the best at being the Raptors. And by that I mean winning when nobody thinks they can win. So it's either any one of them can take the 1 seed. I think the Nets have the most potential, followed by the Celtics, then the Raptors. But I think the Raptors have the lowest floor, followed by the Celtics and then the Nets. And that's the order. And that's more or less the order I went with. You'll see. With the floor is what I paid attention to quite a bit, and I have the Nets at 3. I would love to think that Irving and Durant will fit perfectly. I just don't know for sure. It'll be great. They're gonna be great, but when you have a starting lineup of Irving, LeVert, Harris, Durant, and Allen, that's not great defensively. And this is one I'm going to bring up just because it recently happened. It won't matter too much when it comes to actually winning a championship, but Russell Westbrook just got traded to the Washington Wizards. Who on that team is going to stop him? Like, this is where the 76ers have a great matchup for the Wizards, as Simmons can stop Westbrook, at least slow him down. The Nets don't have anyone like that. The Raptors, they can. I mean, you probably stick Anunoby on them, or you put Anunoby on Beal. But the Nets just don't have the defense to keep up with to keep up with really anybody. I mean, who are you going to put on Giannis? That's a better question. Who are you going to put on Giannis? You going to put Jared Allen on Giannis? That's not bad, but Giannis is getting better. He's getting faster. That's not going to work as well as it has in the past. Who are you going to put, let's see, on Jimmy Butler? COVID alert. I know Durant's not a bad defender. In fact, he's a fairly solid defender. But, and against Butler, that probably wasn't a good example. But against Giannis, that's the man. Who are you going to guard? Who's going to guard Giannis? I see no one on this team that can guard Giannis. I mean, the dude's muscles are like twice as big as, like 4 times as big as these. Whereas Durant's are about half the size of these. That's not going to work well. Like, the defense just doesn't work well here. Granted, that is to be expected when you have Steve Nash and Mike D'Antoni as your coaches. Where, according to Game of Zones, double the offense, half the defense. And that's what we're going to see. We're going to see a lot of fast-paced offense. Irving and Durant are going to put up almost career-high numbers, I would think. LeVert and Harris are going to thrive. Dinwiddie off the bench going to thrive, or LeVert off the bench, or whoever they have coming off the bench is going to thrive. Whoever that 6 man is. But their bench only goes 3, maybe 4 deep. Which, when it comes to the playoffs, is all you really need. But as right now, according to ESPN, their bench would be Dinwiddie, Landry Shamet, DeAndre Jordan, and Jeff Green, or someone else. Shoot, I forgot his name. But anyway, like, you get the point. This isn't a deep bench, which is something we've grown accustomed to with these top Atlantic teams having deep benches. The Nets used to have an insanely deep bench, but then some trades happen and things happen. They lose their bench a bit, but still, those 3 aren't bad players. I love Landry Shamet. I've been a fan of him since Wichita State. But Jeff Green, I don't really think at his age should be getting minutes. DeAndre Jordan's not bad, but he needs a solid point guard. Like, that's what DeAndre Jordan needs, a point guard that can create for him. in order to be very successful, and that was in his prime. Now that he's out of his prime, coming off the bench with a point guard that isn't Chris Paul, he's not going to do well. But Shamoun did what he should do. I think will do great under Steve Nash. And Mike D'Antoni, I was surprised he became an assistant coach. You were just the head coach of one of the best teams in the West. So you come to the East to be an assistant coach under a player you coached to 2 MVPs. It seems strange to me, especially maybe he was tired of the stress of being a head coach. I don't get it. But I had the Brooklyn Nets going up 48-24. Great season. I have them finishing third due to their lower floor of things not working out, especially with Durant coming back from the leg injury. I think it was ACL, right? Don't remember. A bit rusty on my injury knowledge. But with all the factors in here, whether Steve Nash is going to be a good coach or not, we don't know, and I have him third in the Atlantic. Second, is it the Boston Celtics or the Toronto Raptors? I was thinking about how to do this dramatically. Because, theater major to be not really high. Not good at theater. And I'll just cut right to it. Boston Celtics. They're going to be a fine team. Like, the loss of Hayward, honestly doesn't affect them too much. Like, it moves everybody up in the rotation one. Like, that's really what it does. I mean, it moves Marcus Smart into the starting lineup, which I'm fine with. And I think that's actually going to benefit us more, having Smart starting. Because if you go and look at the playoffs, he wasn't great in the playoffs. In fact, I was not a huge fan of his play in the playoffs. As I wasn't a huge fan with most of their play in the playoffs, as they sucked. Mainly against the Heat. But, so Kemba Walker, I saw something that maybe it's as a Celtics fan, but took kind of offensively to Kemba. They're comparing Kemba and Kyle Lowry. I guess the stats are close. Lowry can play better defense. People are saying Lowry's better. I disagree. Because Kemba is a better offensive player than Lowry. I don't know the exact stats. Of who's a better playmaker, like stats. That's career. 7.5 for Lowry. And for Kemba, he has 4.8. So Lowry is a better playmaker. But I do think Kemba is a better player. I don't know how much, I think if they switch teams, it might honestly benefit both teams better, as Lowry would be I would love to have Lowry on this team. I think he'd be a great fit. And then for the Raptors, having Walker in there as a solidified scoring option, like Lowry's fine, but having someone like Kemba to come in and dominate, like that, I think that'd benefit them well, take pressure off of Siakam. But for the Celtics, I love Walker. I think it's a better fit than Kyrie was, mainly because of Kemba's honestly an underrated defender. Because his defensive stats, and he's smaller and can get exposed. However, the heart that he plays with, I know I might just be grasping at straws here, but when he plays all out. He plays aggressive on defense, even when he knows that he's gonna get beat. Even when he knows that, he still plays his butt out. But what I am concerned a little bit about the defense, a little bit with Walker, because of his size. I know I just complimented him, but heart doesn't always equal production. I think when they go in, why am I loading that? Okay, I'm confused. But when they go and play a team with the point guard, like let's say they go and play the Sixers, we're a little size outmatched there. Like you'd probably have Kemba on Green, and then let's see here. I don't know. That'd be interesting. You definitely have Tyson Embiid. I miss having Horford on Embiid. Those are some special matchups. Anyway, the defense with Walker, you have to do quite a bit of switching when you're playing someone like the Sixers, the Nets, the Raptors, I guess, with Lowry. But yeah, the overall defense, Smart, Brown, Tatum, and Tice, beautiful defense. Like probably one of the better defensive fours in the NBA. But yeah, I've been rambling for quite a bit now. Let's go. Let's move to the bench. I need to follow schedule here. Let's move to the bench. Jeff Teague, Aaron Nesmith, Grant Williams, Tristan Thompson, Robert Williams, Taco Fall, Peyton Pritchard. I believe those are all players that can contribute. Now, maybe because I am a Celtics fan and I know every single one of them. Not that I want to meet them. It's like I don't know them like that. But like I've watched them all play. And I think they can all contribute very well. Like Jeff Teague, nice veteran point guard. Aaron Nesmith, shooter with defense potential. Grant Williams, defensive with shooting potential. Tristan Thompson, great rebounder. Robert Williams, great potential. Taco Falls, 7'7", and Peyton Pritchard, great offensive potential. Now, the thing I am noticing outside of the fact that we have the tallest player in the NBA, we also have some of the shortest centers. We have Tice Thompson and Robert Williams. We'll probably be getting the center rotations in there. It doesn't make me feel great, but their defense is fine. Like they play fine defense, but I would prefer somebody like I would have loved to have DeMarcus Cousins back when he was like an all-star, but even someone like maybe DeAndre Jordan. I can't think of any other. I'm tired, but yeah, overall a great team, and then coached by Brad Stevens. I think the thing that the Celtics need to do, in order to do great this year, is to play with a chip on their shoulder. The way that Tatum played in his rookie year, that's how they need to play. They need to play with They need to play with Marcus Smart plays. They need to play like everybody's been talking crap about their mother. That's how they need to play if they want to be great. But overall, I have them going 49-23. Only the win with the Nets, like they're just 1A, 1B, 1C. And then the Raptors, I'm just gonna. Their record's 50-22 because I just there's very little separation between these teams. I do think that the Raptors have the weakest of these three. Well, wait, no. The Raptors are about even, in just about everything. I mean, their bench is pretty good. It's not as deep as the Celtics, but it's better than the Nets and the 76ers, I would say. Their starting lineup isn't great, but I'd say it's better than the Nets, and arguably the Celtics. But it's not as good as the 76ers starting lineup on paper, I don't believe. They're just about average. I think the one thing that stands them out is Nick Nurse, though he does have to compete with two great Celtics coaches in Stevens and Rivers. But yeah, like this division is just so good. Like it's absolutely insane. But their starting lineup: Lowry, Van Vliet, Anunoby, Siakam, and Baines. Their key losses being Serge Ibaka and Marc Gasol, I would say. But Baines fills Marc Gasol's shoes pretty well. Pretty good interior defender. Can run the floor, which is something that Marc Gasol couldn't really do. And Baines can also shoot. Like they have a very solid defensive lineup. Like Lowry, like I said, plays the beat. He takes the charges. He flops, yes. Is annoying, yes. But he plays defense. Van Vliet, really going to be, I think, their second or third option behind Siakam and maybe Lowry. I don't know exactly how things are going to go down. But I think VanVleet, solid scorer. Anunoby, really one of the best defenders in the league. And I already talked about Baines. But Siakam, I don't know why I skipped right over him. The star of this team. This is his team. Love Siakam. He played in New Mexico. Didn't watch him because screw the Aggies. But yeah, I love Siakam. I love watching Siakam play. Great player, and I think will lead this team to 50 wins. Their bench consists of Norman Powell, Chris Boucher, Terrence Davis, and Malachi Flynn. The reason I'm pointing out Malachi Flynn here is because he was a Toronto Raptors second-round pick. We all know how well Toronto Raptors late-round picks turn out to be. That's what I'm scared Malachi Flynn is going to turn into the next Steph Curry. But Norman Powell, Chris Boucher, and even Terrence Davis have very, very solid defenders. Norman Powell and Davis are pretty good offensively, with Chris Boucher being just a better defensive big man, athletic. I think this is a very good team, as I mentioned, going 15-22 with Nick Nurse as their head coach, and I think the Raptors have a great season this year. The whole Atlantic Division, except for that other team, have a great season. And thank you all very much for watching. This is a much longer video than I ever thought it was going to be. But thank you very much for watching. Look out for the other 6 videos coming out eventually. I will see you all later. Adios.